The premier endurance sports car racing championship in North America features the bravest drivers and the most famous automotive brands as they tackle the continent's toughest races. Round 6 of the 2019 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen in upstate New York. And in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, it's round 4, the Tioga Downs Casino Resort 240. So, fasten your seatbelt, because it's time to go sports car racing. Watkins Glen International is easily one of North America's most famous racetracks as it's known around the world. At 3.4 miles long, Watkins Glen has 115 feet of elevation change spread out over 11 vastly unique corners. One thing that fans and drivers both love about the Glen? It's fast. Real fast. Tucked away in upstate New York, IMSA has been racing here for decades, and the list of winners at this historic racetrack is as impressive as the scenery around it. And while the cars may have evolved and the names have changed over the years, racing at Watkins Glen International is essential to determining the best sports car racing team and drivers every single season. DPI, GT Le Mans, LMP2, and GT Daytona cars will fly through the uphill S's, over the curbing, around the carousel, and in between those iconic blue Armco barriers as this track tests bravery and guts every single lap for 6 hours each and every summer. Now let's take a look at some news from the IMSA paddock. This week's Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen launches the annual summer swing of 5 races over the course of 9 weekends, which will no doubt give a definite shape to the 2019 championship picture heading into the final rounds this fall. Ford Chip Ganassi Racing is the winningest active team in the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen, with a total of 6 victories. The team's record includes 4 Grand Am DP/overall wins starting in 2004, and including 3 consecutive in 2008, 2009, and 2010. The team's other 2 victories came in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship GT Le Mans class in 2016 and last year, when Joey Hand and Dirk Mueller co-drove the team's number 66 Ford GT to victory. If either the number 66 or the team's number 67 entry wins this year, the team will move into a tie with Brumos Racing for the most all-time wins in the Sahlen 6 Hours. The number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW driver, Bill Oberlin, has the most pole positions at the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen with 3. He also won back-to-back pole positions in IMSA GTS 3 in 1997 and US RRC GT3 in 1998. The Sahlen 6 Hours marks the third of 4 rounds of the IMSA Michelin Endurance Cup, officially making it go time for any serious contenders for that prestigious title. Driver of the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac DPI, Joao Barbosa, and driver of the number 44 Magnus Racing Lamborghini, Andy Lally, are the winningest active drivers in this year's Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen field with 4 victories apiece. All 4 of Barbosa's victories were overall wins in the Sahlen 6 Hours. He won back-to-back Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series races in the top Daytona prototype class in 2012 and 2013, claimed overall and prototype class wins in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in 2016 and 2017. He's tied with Scott Pruitt for the most overall victories in the prestigious endurance race. The Tioga Downs Casino Resort 240 at the Glen has a duration of 4 hours and is the second of 2 endurance races in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. All the remaining races after Watkins Glen will follow the usual 2-hour format. 8 drivers on the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen entry list were podium finishers in last weekend's 24 Hours of Le Mans, led by GTE AM class winner Patrick Lindsay, who returns to the cockpit of his number 73 Park Place Motorsports Porsche 911 in the GT Daytona class at Watkins Glen. Drivers love racing at Watkins Glen International. Ford Chip Ganassi Racing driver Joey Hand, who shares the number 66 Ford GT with Dirk Mueller, tells us exactly what he loves so much about piloting his Ford GT around the high speed, high risk, and highly rewarding Watkins Glen International.
Hey everybody, Joey Hand here, driver the number 66 Ford Chip Ganassi Racing Ford GT here at Watkins Glen, one of the greatest racetracks in all the US, all the world honestly. What makes it great? It's on the topography of the land. It's up and down, it's fast, it's slow, it's got a lot of grip, a lot of lateral G-force, it's very physical from the driver's seat. Just a fun racetrack. I enjoy it, the whole team loves it. We're always quick here. We won here last year. I think we got a good shot at it again. Let's see what happens.
In order to keep things as close and competitive out on track as possible every weekend, Jeff Carter updates us on all the technical changes that IMSA has put in place before we go racing here in New York.
So here we are at Watkins Glen, New York for the Sahlen 6 hours at the Glen. Behind me you see the cars going through technical inspection. We've just finished qualifying for this week's 6-hour race. Since the last time we've raced, we had a 2-class race in Detroit. This week, all 4 classes. Balance of performance changes since the last race in Detroit. For the Daytona Prototype International, we have 2 changes. We've added 15 kilograms to the Acura DPI. And we've also taken 1 liter of fuel away from the Cadillac DPI. When we moved down to GTLM, we've only had 1 change, and that was to the BMW M8, where we've given it 9 kilowatts of power and a couple of more liters of fuel to take care of that power. Power means fuel. In GTD, we've only had 1 small change, and that was to the McLaren, not participating this week, but it'll be it next week at Mossport. Those are the changes for this week at the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Trent Hinman, driving the number 86 Acura NSX GT3 Evo, and I'm here to take you for a lap of Watkins Glen International. Approaching turn 1 here, we're going to be up to 5th gear. This is one of the most important corners on the track. There's a ton of banking. Minimum speed is of the utmost importance because we have this super long run up the S's, all the way down the back straight, all the way up to the bus stop. In the famed S's here at Watkins Glen, absolutely 100% in flat in these IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship GTD cars. This Acura NSX GT3 really pulls well down the straight here. We're going to take advantage of that in the race. Bus stop can certainly make or break a lap here around Watkins Glen. We're going to rifle it off curb number 1, 2, 3, back on the power, over curb number 4. We're flat for as long as we can down here in turn 5. Little bit of a lift to reset the front, back onto full throttle as early as we can. Ton of banking down there. Turn 6, really difficult because it's totally blind entry, totally blind apex. As long as you get that entry right, get down to that apex curve, that exit comes pretty easily. Turn 7, huge compression up the hill. Use that to help set the car. We're down to 2nd gear. Really need as much torque as we can get out of this 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 Acura NSX engine pulling up that hill. Turn 8, braking, super important here. Lots of bumps under braking. It's downhill. We got a lot of banking going down to the apex. Getting on throttle, super important there. Turn 9, another blind crest. Coming over a hill, can't really see much going down to apex, but again, another one of these corners around Watkins Glen where it's super important to get the throttle early. Turn 10, we're in 4th gear, turn in flat, very little bit of a lift, right back to full power into turn 11. 1 downshift right down to the curb, again, lots of banking, get on the throttle super early, all the way out to that left-hand wall, and that's the lap of Watkins Glen International.
IMSA Race Control is the control center for everything that happens out on track during a race weekend. It takes many moving pieces and a whole lot of communication to run a weekend smoothly. Brian Hughes from IMSA Race Control explains what and who goes into a weekend.
My main function is basically communicating the race directors, instructions, penalties, whatnot to the various teams, and I am in constant contact with the pit lane officials down there, understanding what the teams are looking for, relaying messages back and forth to the team. Another big part of the job is keeping our schedule on time so that our sessions end and start on time so that we can finish when we're supposed to finish and start when we're supposed to start.
6 hours of racing ready to get underway here on a very warm summer day in upstate New York. The field of nearly 40 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship racers comes out of the final corner and sees the green flag as Oliver Jarvis in that number 77 Mazda leads him down into turn number 1. His teammate, the number 55, trying to get around the Acura for second as well, but can't make it happen. The DPI field leads them up the S's. Meanwhile, behind them, LMP2, GT Le Mans, and GT Daytona racers starting to sort themselves out up the hill as the DPIs make their way down the back straightaway. And oh, there's heavy contact here in GT Le Mans. That's one of the Corvettes going around at the top of the hill, and it's going to collect the 33 Mercedes. That's Ben Keating in the number 33 car competing in GT Daytona. He has been collected, and it's the number 4 Corvette of Tommy Milner, whose day is done before lap 1 is even complete here in New York. That car is destroyed. A little bit later on in the race, trouble here as the sister cars, the 31 and the 5 Cadillac, number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, goes off here in the boot. Looks like the 31 just locks up the rear tires on corner entry, and the number 5 has just nowhere to go and nearly gets taken out in that incident as well. We go on board now here with the number 31. Green flag back out in the air. Here we go, a great look at classic IMSA sports car side-by-side action. That's the leader in GT Le Mans, the BMW. Number 25, Tom Blomqvist, trying to get away from Jan Magnussen in that number 3 Corvette, working through GT Daytona traffic, all the while dealing with LMP2 and DPI traffic behind and around them. And then following a caution flag for a stalled car out on the track, we resume racing with just over an hour to go here. Juan Pablo Montoya in the number 6 Acura Team Penske. DPI leads the field back to green flag racing. A couple drivers swerving as they head down into turn 1, trying to get heat back into the tires. The number 50 from Yukos Racing going door to door with the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac. But the field sorts themselves out cleanly as they fly through the uphill S's and resume green flag racing. Here at Watkins Glen, there you see Juan Montoya out in front of the 2 Mazda Team Yost cars as they make their way into the inner loop. Here on the first lap, back to green flag racing. Montoya doing a good job, but the Mazda is slowly reeling in as they do their best to keep the experienced Acura driver right in front of them. Harry Tinknell in the number 55, Oliver Jarvis in the number 77. Right behind Montoya as now they head into the boot. And now on the final lap, after taking away the race lead inside that final hour, it's the 2 Mazdas out in front scoring an emotional and a wildly popular 1-2 finish for Mazda Team Yost here in the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Harry Tinknell brings the number 55 home in the top position. There you see his teammate Jonathan Bomarito and everyone in the Mazda Team Yost pit celebrating. And then in GT Daytona, Mario Farnbacher in that pink and black Acura NSX just trying to hold off the experienced veteran Bill Oberlin in the blue and yellow BMW right behind him. This is the final lap, and this is for the victory in GT Daytona. Acura NSX driven by Mario Farnbacher for Meyershank Racing scores the win in New York. There you see the team, Trent Hinman, and everybody celebrating a hard-earned victory after 6 hours of racing in New York. Meanwhile, in GT Le Mans, Nick Tandy has got Antonio Garcia right behind him. Tandy driving the number 911 Porsche. Garcia in the number 3 Corvette, doing everything he can as they head through the final corner. That long sweeping right-hander, and Tandy's going to be able to hold him off in GT Le Mans. Nick Tandy scores the win in the 911 for Porsche. Garcia comes home in second, and Richard Westbrook rounds out the podium in the number 67 Ford in the 3rd position. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship standings. DPI class. LMP2 class. GT Le Mans. GT Daytona.
Last year in 2018, I was fortunate enough to win the Watkins Glen 240 in the IMSA ST class with the mini JCW team. So what it took to win that race was just a lot of teamwork, a lot of hard work from the guys in the pit crew. What really won our race was the pit stops by our team. So we had really good strategy that were able to get us out front in the pit stops and the rotation. So my co-driver Mark Pombo drove an amazing final stint, and he held off in the lead, was able to hold off second place. So it was an amazing victory for the team last year, and I was super happy that the drivers of the number 73 LA Honda World TCR, Matt Pombo and Mike Lamar, were able to continue the win streak for LAP Motorsports at Watkins Glen, making it 3 years in a row for the team.
In this week's technical segment, we check in with IMSA Senior Manager of Technical Regulations and Homologations, Jeff Mishtawi.
In our previous round in Mid-Ohio, the majority of the race was run in the rain. And when we have a weather that's a race that's been impacted by weather, inclement conditions, or some other mitigating circumstance, it's ruled out of our analysis process. And this is the first time in a long time that we as the technical committee, me as the technical manager for the series, felt confident 100% that the data gained from Mid-Ohio was essentially worthless and couldn't be applied to learn anything because of the impact of weather over the event. So with that, we brought the same basic characteristics in for the Watkins Glen round. This is our highest altitude race of the year, so there's some altitude compensation to make sure the natural aspirated cars and the turbocharged cars can make about the same power. So there's some small changes based on that. And globally, there was a change to the engine calibration, the software that runs the engine in the Mercedes. So we've realigned with that, and there's a couple of changes. It shouldn't be a lap time change. It's just a small change in the ones and zeros inside the computer.
4 hours of racing ready to begin here in upstate New York as it's the Tioga Downs Casino Resort 240. In the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, the green flag flies, and it's the two Mercedes from Windward Racing HTP Motorsport who had the front row. Indy Donche got that Motul Pole Award in qualifying and leads the field out of turn 1 through turn 2 and now up those fast uphill S's as the entire field of GS and TCR cars sort themselves out as we make our way through lap number 1 here at Watkins Glen International. Live look as we ride on board the number 59 Ford Mustang from Core, trying to get around the number 97 Aston Martin right in front as they fly down the back straightaway and get ready to jump on the brakes heading into the inner loop for the first time. The two Mercedes that started on the front row continue to dice it out, going side by side for the race lead. And then you've also got the McLaren from Compass Racing not too far behind as well, racing for third place. The BMW pokes its nose out, trying to take third place away from the 75, and the BMW is going to be able to get it done. Double yellow flags flying here, full course caution, as we see a stalled out Alfa Romeo, car number 3. That's the reason for the full course caution. Green flag flies back in the air at the halfway point, 2 hours down, 2 hours to go. In the Tioga Downs Casino Resort 240, Devin Jones in the number 82 BMW actually now out in front as he leads Corey Fergus. In that Motorsports in Action McLaren in second place, Jerome Bleekemolen still in the number 35 sits in third. And then it's Guy Cosmo in fourth and Kyle Marcelli rounding out your top 5 as we resume racing with 2 hours left to go here in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Racing at Watkins Glen. Nick Galante leads the way in TCR with Mikey Taylor in the number 54 running in second. Team's new weather was on the way here in New York, and they'd be racing to try and decide which tires to put on. Trouble here for Robin Liddell, race leader in the Rebel Rock Racing Camaro. Oh, and big trouble here for one of our front row starters, the number 57 Mercedes and the 73 TCR makes contact with the barriers as well. The green flag resumes now with only 16 minutes of racing to go. You see Dylan Murray in that purple and white Mercedes AMG out in front. You've got Bill Oberlin and Dylan Murray. Now Dylan Murray back to the third position as he takes the fight to Bill Oberlin. There's Murray in that white and purple Mercedes pulling up alongside the yellow and blue BMW of Bill Oberlin. Now Murray able to get the job done. He takes second place away, and Murray now sets his sights on Corey Fergus in that blue and white McLaren, who leads this race with less than 10 minutes to go. The two drivers make their way up the S's and towards the back straightaway. Dylan Murray has a big run of steam, but half the track is covered in water, half the track is dry. Tire choice is critical here, whether you're on slicks or wet weather tires. Dylan Murray gets a big run getting down the back straightaway, but it's actually going to be Corey Fergus in the McLaren who holds on to the lead because he was out in front. Murray looking high, looking low, trying to get that top spot away as he runs right down on the bottom through the carousel. Corey Fergus opens up the door, and Dylan Murray looks like he's finally able to get the top spot away. Corey Fergus falls to second, but Bill Oberlin and that Turner Motorsports BMW trying to make something happen. And there we see the white flag waving as Dylan Murray, who drove masterfully on the final laps, was able to get around everybody in front of him and head to the lead where he currently is on this final lap. Murray into the final corner. Now out of the final corner, he'll see the checkered flags waving, and the number 35 Mercedes AMG is going to score the victory in the GS category here at Watkins Glen International. There you see Jerome Bleekemolen, Bill Riley, everybody celebrating on the pit box. And then in TCR, the number 73 of Matt Pombo. There you see him right there coming in, now out of the final corner, sets his sights on that starter stand where he will see the checkered flag waving in TCR as the number 73 from LA Honda World scores the victory in TCR, their first of the season. IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge point standings. GS class. The TCR class.
The 6 hours at the Glen today will not only be unique in terms of the race length, but also the pace.
It is not a short sprint, it's a long sprint.
Mazda Team Yost has had record-breaking speed this year.
They've been knocking on the door.
No one could keep up with the 77. A record-breaking, shattering run.
Prepared to go racing. Green flag is in hand. It's in the air. It's waving, and the 6 hours begins.
The two Mazdas get the jump. Drama for the championship leader.
Felipe Nasser is in the gravel. What an untidy start to the Sahlen 6 hours. It's going to be one of those days. Good battle now for second and third to the far right. Gets down the inside. That'll be the position there for Tinknell. Used the traffic superbly.
Mazda now 1-2 at Watkins Glen. We've got trouble with the GTLM leader.
Garcia's gone to the front, and the BMW's gone with him.
Whoa! There's a little notice coming through.
One from Albuquerque.
Well, we got a problem on the track.
This is the 84 car. Run afoul of some GTD traffic here. They are showing a turn of speed that we've seen before, but they've got to get these cars to the end of the race. GT Le Mans, the Corvette of Jan Magnussen is ahead of both the BMWs. The GTD battle's been interesting as well. Tony Vilander leads for Scuderia Corsa, and still it's the Mazdas leading it out. Turn one incident, and that's cost time for Helio Castro Neves.
Oh, there's a roll.
Contact there between the BMW and the number 5.
As we see a battle for the lead with the two Mazdas going at it here.
Nunez putting it all on the line. The car looked really dicey, almost out of control as he he gets clipped by the land. Audi.
Oh boy.
Antonio Garcia kind of does the undercut on him, is able to get him and clear him back through the S's here.
Tandy's 5 seconds of the road.
He's gone. He's just had his best lap of the race.
Gonna have to be pretty decisive to get past Montoya in the lead of a race.
Montoya being challenged right now.
Oh, and commitment there. Tinknell to the inside. He surprises Montoya. But they've both gone off the track.
Mazda is back in front, looking for their first win in prototype.
Mazda comes to a halt. Slight slide, but on the marks this time.
4 tires for Juan Pablo Montoya as well. Here comes the 77. It's a race out of pit road.
Ollie Jarvis beats out Juan Pablo Montoya. Now where's the other Mazda on the racetrack?
32 minutes to go. There's the 55, a full straightaway. He's gonna have to put in the best 30 minutes of his life to have a shot to chase down his teammate.
Here comes Farnbacker. This is the lead for the GTD, and we have a new leader with 16 minutes to go. The lead Mazda has got a problem. definite bodywork damage on the lead car.
How much damage is on that car? What kind of impact might it have?
None of this is over yet.
This GTD battle is now very tight.
Will this be the day?
It is 3.4 miles for Mazda in IMSA competition. This is redemption. This is the win for Mazda.
Mazda has won!
The curse is broken. PR1 Matheson Motorsport, they will take LMP2. 6 hours, we promised you, and we're over that now. The excitement is still on. I think the Porsche's done enough.
It's 4 in a row for Porsche. The 911, and this is the GTD finish. And Mario Farnbacher, Meyer Shank Racing, and Acura is going to win at the Glen.
Great job, Harry. You're the back. Great job.
The champagne can be sprayed. That is a party that is going to run long and hard for Mazda Team Yost.
The racing is done here at Watkins Glen, but we've got the whole summer ahead of us as the season has officially hit the midway point. Next up, IMSA heads north of the border to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. Be sure to stick with us and tune in for your sports car racing fix next time on IMSA, The Road to Racing.